When Americans are angry, they turn to guns. Every single time. We've been trying to tell you that for years, for over 20 years, because children have been unalived in their places of learning over and over and over again by hurt individuals. So it has happened to CEOs of the worst corporations in this country. It has happened to our president. Now it's happened to Charlie Kirk. Now it's happened to a political figure, which tells us something important about our culture. The internet and media have made it so the political space has expanded drastically. And in light of this, so have feelings about and surrounding politics. They've expanded, they've grown, and they've gotten serious to the point where people are so distraught and angered by their political emotions that they have resorted to pew-pewing people. And I can't act like I don't understand that. I can't act as though that feeling and that result is not expected when the talking points of these social media figures have led to a culture based around hating individuals who look like me. We are seeing a drastic resurgence of marginalization and dehumanization taking commonplace in America. In our social institutions, places that we're supposed to feel safe are now politicized in a way that hurts brown, black, and LGBTQ communities. What do you expect to happen? Charlie Kirk has been one of the biggest vessels in communicating this hatred. And now we're seeing a symptom of a deeper problem manifesting in the violence that was perpetuated against him. People are angry and afraid, and they don't like the direction that this country is going. And they don't know what to do about it. Blame the root problem. Blame the fascist culture that is taking over this country, that is making every other country look at us like we are crazy. Are you seeing it now? Are you understanding that something is wrong?
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term that it does a lot of damage.
There's a lot of people being policed based off of how they show empathy or the lack thereof when it comes to Charlie Kirk. And I believe there's a lot of videos and things this man has said that's echoing in folks' heads. Probably debating with the devil right now. Him, Ronald Reagan, George Bush. Yeah, they having a debate of hell. Oh shit, now they saying they don't know who shot Charlie Kirk, and the person they had allegedly, he didn't do it. So now we're waiting on the details to see who did this to Charlie Kirk and why did they do it. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Trump administration spins this, as well as how it becomes deracialized if it's you know who. And if it ain't, it's going to be really interesting to see all of the racial pathology and politics at play. We all watching now and seeing what's happening. Still crazy political violence going on in this country, and I blame Trump. I blame them for all the climate they didn't cause to make it where individuals want to pull out their little things and shoot them. Especially when we start talking about, hey man, preventative gun laws could have maybe prevented this man's life. But y'all say we don't need that because criminals don't break the law. Criminals don't care about the law. But y'all feel away with anything else. Man, we waiting on these updates for Trump. I'm waiting on these updates with Charlie Kirk. Shit, crazy.
Charlie Kirk is dead. Shot. A man who built his career mocking empathy, who said gun deaths were worth it for the Second Amendment, dies by the very weapon he defended. Not just defending it, but he fiercely defended. Now, before you clutch your pearls, I'm not here to dance on the grave, but let us be honest. This is America's mirror at the moment. A country drowning in its own contradictions, where selective empathy decides whose life matters and whose doesn't. And Charlie Kirk, he made damn sure we knew who didn't. So today, we're going to be talking about irony, violence, empathy, and how America keeps choking on the poison it pours for others. Hit the like button and let's get into this.
I don't have a lot of empathy for the man who said, and I quote, "I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we could have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights." I don't have a lot of empathy for that man. Clearly, he was okay with this. And even still, I'm not going to have a ton of empathy for the man who spent his entire life, including his last moments on earth, being openly misogynistic, transphobic, racist, anti-immigrant, xenophobic. The list goes on and on and on. No, he doesn't have my sympathies or empathies. Now, of course, I don't wish this on anybody, not even him. Of course, I feel horrific for his family, who is likely devastated by this loss, obviously, because I'm a human being who has some care and empathy in me. I don't want this to happen to anybody, especially the victims of the over 300 mass shootings we've had in the United States this year, not including the school shooting that happened today, not this event, a different one that wounded 3 people. This is going to stay in the news cycle way longer than any of those other acts of violence out there. We're going to talk about him and the grief and how this is enough and how bad we feel for him and his family way longer than we've ever talked about any of the other victims. We're going to spend our time and energy focusing on somebody who would not shed a tear for anybody else. Not only would he not shed a tear, he says, well, that's the price to pay. If that's the price to pay, I hate to say it, he paid it. You want me to cry? He was okay with this. This is a very sad day for his family. I hope they find healing like everybody else who has ever been impacted by gun violence. But we're not going to forget the kind of man that this man was just because he's another victim in a long line of victims. Clearly, by his own admission, he's okay with victims being victims if it means we get to have a Second Amendment. And that's that.
Hey y'all, so they killed Charlie Kirk. Okay? So you know I usually talk about things from a spiritual point of view. And so there's two types of exposure. There's the true exposure coming from the spirit, and then there's fake exposure. Now the true exposure is all these things that are going to be coming out over time and being released, and people finding out the truth, who really did what, and all the little, people are going to all fall in place of what's happening. That's happening little by little with spirit. Fake exposure is what these people have been doing and deceiving their people. Now, let's talk about who had motive to do this to him. Okay? For one thing, Charlie Kirk was at least 6-7 years promising, along with a lot of other people, that they wanted to expose those people that were on that Epstein file. And then all of a sudden he turned cold on them, and he decided that he don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to talk about it. This is the last day, after just saying I want to see the files. Well, it doesn't work like that when you've been one of the big mouths in a gang, because that's what you're heading. You're one of the leaders of a gang, okay? And you cannot ask any gang leader, you cannot, be in the gang and then just decide, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. Well, I'm not going to talk about it. It don't fucking go like that, baby. It don't go like that. That's not working. And as you can see, it hasn't worked. But he's not going to be the last one. I told you last week, they are going to off each other. They are going to off each other. They only like Donald Trump. Okay? They only like him. And it's going to get worse. They only like Donald Trump. Everybody else that has turned coat is going to see their day when it comes to those people that they've been dealing with. Because they don't know who they've been dealing with. They have released the Krakens. Okay? So now you deal with the people that you've hyped up all these years. You deal with them because they're out there. I'm telling my people, stay in the house, stay safe, and stay out of this mess that they have going on. It doesn't have anything to do with us. Eat your popcorn, drink your water, and watch this shit show, honey, because it's going down. And I'm reminding you that Spirit told me at the beginning of the month that he don't need no bombs to end this shit show. Okay? One by one, they're going down. Stay in the house.
Picture it. A man who told grieving parents that their children's deaths were the price of freedom suddenly becomes the headline. Shot dead in a state with some of the loosest gun laws in the country. That's not just tragic. That's poetic. That's America writing its own Greek tragedy. This is not about karma. This is about a society so obsessed with guns, so allergic to empathy, that the story writes itself. Gun culture doesn't protect you, it devours you. And Kirk, whether you loved him or hated him, became the proof. Honestly, the NRA should use his death in their next poster tagline: Second Amendment guaranteed for life or until it takes yours. The reactions split the country wide open. Some wept for his family, others refused to pretend they cared, and some even said this was justice. Rejection of empathy. Kirk himself called empathy a weakness. Why extend him what he denied others? Empathy for family versus none for him. His kids didn't choose his politics. They didn't deserve to lose a father, but him, he chose. Selective empathy. America weeps for one political commentator, but yawns at the hundreds of children gunned down this year. The hypocrisy? If Kirk had lived, would he have mourned any of them? Or would he, as usual, said, unfortunate, but worth it? It's wild how empathy works in America. A school shooting happens, thoughts, prayers, and a shrug. But a conservative talking head dies, and suddenly empathy is a national emergency. What's next? Flags at half-mast for Tucker Carlson Twitter's account. Okay. For some, Kirk's death was America's crossing a line. You don't defeat ideas with bullets, you defeat ideas with ideas. For others, it was America simply cashing the check it wrote. Symptom of fascist culture, violence as inevitable when hatred is normalized. Means of liberation. Some argued violence is historically the only way marginalized groups win. Condemnation. Others stressed political violence destroys democracy and legitimizes authoritarian crackdowns. Here's the thing. Political violence is not liberation in America. It's ghastly. Every time the gun goes off, the right gets to scream, "See, they're dangerous," and then push us deeper into the abyss. Violence doesn't kill fascism, it feeds it. Within hours of his death, the spin machine kicked in. Was it Antifa? Was it the left? Was it betrayal within his own camp? Epstein file conspiracies? Doesn't matter. The point isn't who pulled the trigger. The point is who will weaponize the story. Donald Trump's probably already drafting a truth social post. Charlie Kirk murdered by woke transgender Marxist with Chinese funding. Vote Trump or you next. Charlie Kirk's death isn't about Charlie Kirk. It's about the Americans. About a country that glorifies guns, demonizes empathy, and then acts shocked when the cycle of its violence swallows one of its own. It's about a society where some lives matters more than others, depending on whose politics you held when you were breathing. And it's about political culture, so toxic that we are no longer asking, how do we stop this? But instead, whose turn is next? You don't have to mourn Charlie Kirk to mourn what this means for America. Because if this is where politics is headed, bullets instead of ballots, hatred instead of empathy, then it's not just Charlie Kirk who's dead, it's democracy gasping for air. If you think these conversations matter, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, let us build a space where empathy isn't weakness and where analysis isn't censored by political spin. Because trust me, this story is not about the end of one man. It's about the future we are all walking into. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.